Hello, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for joining today. My name is Melissa Limburner, she, they, and I am part of the CareWell team, and I work specifically as the partnership coordinator for Karina. So today we'll look a little bit at Karina. Um, as Roberta said, please feel free to add your questions to the chat. I've got my two great colleagues here, Cameron and Adam, who will be watching the chat. Don't worry if we take them a little bit out of order. Some may need to be prioritized, but rest assured that if we don't get to your question today, we will follow up with an answer after the presentation. So as I said, this is Karina for Care Providers. And the purpose of this meeting or presentation is to share information about Karina, what it is, and how it works for care providers. So what we'll be going over today is information about Karina and how the platform works, eligibility, so who can use Karina, safety on Karina, the 6 easy steps for care providers when they're navigating Karina, and where to go for extra assistance if needed. If we have time at the end, as I said, we will go through some questions and answers. And just to prepare you, I'll be going through the first 3 or points a little bit more quickly so that we have time to really dig into those 6 easy steps of how to navigate and use Karina. So first things first, about Karina. So Karina is a nonprofit technology organization that connects individuals and families who need care with care professionals looking for good jobs and steady work. So Karina is the organization that created the website, and they maintain the website, which is also called Karina. And as I said, the website is designed to help care providers and what we call care seekers to connect. And we'll look at this a little bit further down in the presentation. So what Karina does. So Karina provides greater choice and control, better information and space for people to connect. It connects individuals and families to qualified care professionals that can meet their needs. It connects care professionals to individuals and families with jobs that fit their skills. And it strengthens the system overall by increasing access to qualified care and meaningful employment. So, in summary, Karina provides more choice, more control, and opportunity to connect for both care providers and care seekers. So a little bit about what you can expect on Karina. This is a little graphic that illustrates what you can expect, and to summarize a little bit, Karina is always free to use. You don't have to pay for it. Um, you get to choose who you interact with and the information that you share. All users for Karina are verified, so anybody who's using Karina should be there. The data is kept current, which we'll kind of see a little bit more as we go along. Karina is private and secure. And in Oregon specifically, Karina partners with Carewell SEIU 503, ODHS, and the Oregon Home Care Commission to provide their service. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the presentation. So this slide kind of illustrates the connection between care seeker and care providers. So I'm going to use my little laser pointer here to kind of show you. So this is an example of what a care seeker might see on their phone. You can see in the search, it says 2 providers near you. And on this one, this is an example of what a care provider might see when they do a search. And it says right here, 26 jobs near you. And so it kind of illustrates just the ease of making that connection based on what you outlined in your profile or job post if you're a care seeker, and then through the search. And again, Karina is easy to use, it's effective and trustworthy. So in this slide, we just see that every 5 minutes a connection is made on Karina. And to give a little bit of context here, Karina is in multiple states and provides multiple services depending on which state the platform is in. It can provide some slightly different services. So this is talking about the all of Karina, but you can really see that people do make connections on Karina, and they can make them fairly quickly and fairly often. So next, I'd like to look at some testimonials for you all. I won't, based on time, I won't necessarily read through them word for word, but we can take a moment to look at them and I can give a summary. So these two testimonials, one is from a care seeker and one is from a care provider. Um, they just talk about their experience making connections on Karina. And when I say making connections, finding, either a care seeker to work with or a care provider to provide that support and talking with them and seeing if they are a good fit to work with each other. So these two testimonials talk about their experience doing that. They note that they were able to make connections because they had the opportunity to learn a little bit about the other user that they were making a connection with. They learned a little bit about their needs, their personality, and their interests, which helped them to make that better connection with that other person. Okay. So in this slide, we look at a few more testimonials. Again, I won't go through them word for word just to save a little bit of time, but I do want to just point out some of the things that these care seekers and care providers are saying about Karina. Um, in this group of testimonials, both care providers and care seekers shown here were able to make connections that worked for them. So worked with their schedule, were conveniently located to them, so easy for them to potentially commute to provide care. And they also note that they were able to connect with others who had similar interests. At the end of the day, I think that that's really important for a lot of people to find that common ground so that they can start to make that connection and have that meaningful connection with one another. Um, the users also noted they were able to make connections with people they felt comfortable with. Potentially that's because they were able to take their time and share information when they saw fit to share, and really have that communication, which I think is important in building that comfort level. And they also note that the connections were easy and quick to make on Karina. So as mentioned earlier, Karina is in a few different states, and here in Oregon, it has a unique partnership. So Karina partners, as I said, with Carewell SEIU 503, the Oregon Home Care Commission, and the Oregon Department of Human Services to make Karina available throughout Oregon for Medicaid and OPI eligible consumers or care seekers to search and match with qualified in-home care near them. And so for those that may not know, Carewell SEIU 503 is the family of training and benefits hard won by SEIU 503 home care workers, personal support workers, and personal care attendants to enhance their lives. And it's delivered by Rise Partnership, which is a nonprofit supporting Oregon's care providers, public sector workers with outstanding training, education, and benefit navigation. So, Rise Partnership is the organization that I work with, and I work in Carewell, SEIU 503, to support Karina. So this is this is one of my favorite slides, making a difference in Oregon. So as mentioned, Karina is in a few different states, and here in Oregon, we can look at some of the numbers um, for Karina. So available providers, there's 1,378 shown here, open jobs, 658, and self-reported matches. So when people make those connections, there's 2,403. So some things to note to put this slide in a little more context is these numbers are as of the date August 12th, 2025. As mentioned earlier, Karina does keep its data current, so these numbers change day by day. The self-reported matches will probably go up, and available providers and open jobs does change regularly. It can go up and down depending on when people have made matches, when they become unavailable in their their provider profile, or when they filled a job. So that's good thing to note here. Also, Karina piloted in 3 counties in 2022. The counties were Clackamas, Lane, and Marion, but didn't become statewide or available in all counties until 2023. So this data really is at that starting point of 2023. So a little more about Karina. So as I noted earlier, Karina makes it easy for care providers and care seekers to share information and connect with one another. This slide shows a few ways that Karina makes it easier for people to use their website and to connect. So Karina is currently available in English, Spanish, and Russian. So if you speak English, Spanish, or Russian, you can go into the Karina website and change it to your language. And I'll show a little bit more about that later on, but something to note here. And also, Karina will be adding more languages in the future. Um, so if one of those languages isn't your first language or preferred language, stay tuned um, for those updates. Karina is also ADA compliant and has accessibility features such as a high contrast between you know, images and lettering. It also has the ability to change font size on the website for people who may need a larger font size to be able to navigate more easily. And it is also compatible with assistive devices, or excuse me, assistive technology, such as e-readers. So for people who use e-readers to navigate websites, it's compatible with Karina. And Karina is able to be used on multiple devices. So if you use a tablet or a smartphone, excuse me, instead of maybe a desktop, you can still use Karina easily. So next slide here illustrates who can use Karina. So not everybody's eligible to use Karina. The two main types of people that can use Karina, we refer to as care seekers or care providers. So, care seekers are those individuals who are in Medicaid or OPI in-home services. So they're likely through a program with aging and people with disabilities, behavioral health, or perhaps the developmental disabilities program, programs like that. And they're eligible to work with care providers who are home care workers, personal support workers, or personal care attendants. By proxy, care seekers are also people's case managers, or if somebody works with an employee resource connection consultant, those folks can also be in Karina and use Karina. Maybe they work with somebody who doesn't have access to technology, doesn't maybe have the skill or desire to set up their own account. They can work with their case manager or an ERC consultant to post jobs on their behalf or message providers on their behalf. And the way care seekers currently get into Karina is through an invite link. So a case manager would know that somebody on their caseload would need Karina, or they would request to use Karina, and that case manager would send an invite link for the person to use to create their own account. And once that person is verified, they can post jobs and, as I said, search for care providers. So care providers are that second table over here. Use my little laser pointer. And as I said, care providers are providers who have their state-issued provider number. It's active and they're ready to start work. And they are home care workers, personal support workers, and personal care attendants, or they can be a combination of those. So if you hold multiple credentials, that's okay, and you can still use Karina. Another point to note is that you don't have to be working with somebody already to access Karina. So if you're new to care providing and you've got your provider number and you're ready to start looking for hours or looking for people to work with, you can go ahead and sign up for an account on Karina. You also, as a care provider, do not need an invite code. You can go directly to the website to sign up, and we'll look at that a little bit more once we get into the 6 easy steps. And then to note just down at the bottom, once verified, a provider can register, create the profile, and search for and message care seekers. Again, we'll look at that in a little bit more depth in a minute. Okay, so before we do that, just a few more things to note. So safety on Karina. So as mentioned earlier, Karina has safeguards in place to keep people or keep users safe and secure. And this is for both care seekers and care providers. Um, as mentioned, Karina keeps user information private and allows users to control the information that they share with one another. So Karina doesn't share your address or your phone number. It leaves it to you to share that with an individual when you're ready. Another feature it has is users can report negative or inappropriate behavior of another user. And I'll show you that a little bit more on the next slide. And additionally, and one of my personal favorites is Karina has a blog where it shares information on important topics to increase user knowledge. So the example used here, sort of at the bottom of the slide, is a link to a blog post called Creating a Safe and Respectful Care Environment, 6 Tips, which we can add to the chat or forward along after this presentation for you to review. So as I mentioned, this is the snapshot of the report issue feature in Karina. So this is what the report issue button looks like. It says report issue and has this little flag next to it. And this button can be found throughout Karina. So it's at the bottom of, excuse me, provider profiles. It's at the bottom of care seeker job posts. It's also within the messaging feature on Karina. So if you're talking to somebody and they say something inappropriate or potentially hostile or abusive, you can feel okay reporting that issue to Carino. So what you would do is you would just click on the report issue, and the report issue window would pop up. And here you would add the person you're reporting, a description of the behavior from the drop down. So, as I mentioned, unprofessional behavior, hostile or abusive behavior, or something else. You can add a subcategory for future descriptor for further description of the issue. And you can also add a comment to let Korea know exactly what happened. Once this is filled out, you click the report issue button and it would go directly to Karina for them to review and follow up with you or the other person as needed. So this next section, we'll look at what Karina calls the care provider experience. And as I mentioned earlier, this Karina breaks this down, the care provider experience, into 6 easy steps. So the steps are registering on Karina, creating a profile on Karina, searching for available jobs, making that match, or depending on your schedule and availability, making more than one match. Um, Authorization for the work to begin, and then updating your availability and sharing your story. And we'll go into a little bit more detail on each of these steps in the next few slides. So as I mentioned, um, a provider can go directly to the Carina website, no need for an invite link to sign up. And this is what the Carina landing page or homepage would look like. Once you're ready to start that registration, you could click Care Provider. As I mentioned earlier, right here you can see where you would change the language. So, if you speak Spanish or Russian, you can click on that from this drop down, and it'll change the website to that language. And if you already have an account on Carina, you can go directly to the login here. So for this presentation, we'll say we've clicked on we're new and new provider looking for work. And so we'll click on provide care. And that will bring us to the Carina state page. And here you can see that Carina is in a few different states, has a few different services. So you're going to really want to make sure that you click on Oregon as your state. And you can see it here circled in orange. And this will bring you to the Carina, Oregon page. Once here, you can click join for free to start your registration. Again, you can change language or log in if you've already got that account. But for this presentation, we'll say we're clicking this join for free circled in orange here. So once you've done that, it will bring you to the registration page. So here you can see what the registration page would look like. It says, let's get started at the top. You're going to want to go ahead and note the state that you're in again here. And you're going to want to note who you're signing up as. Are you signing up as a care seeker, a case manager, or care provider? And so here you can see it says provider. And then you're going to want to put in your first name and your last name. And then you're going to want to input the email that you want to use for your registration. And just to note, the email that you use here will be the email you log in with, once you've set up your account. So keep that in mind when using your email here. Once you've done that, you can click next and go to the verification page. So here, it will pre-populate your name. And down here is where you're going to put in your provider number. And this is how Karina knows that you are who you say you are. So you're going to put in your provider number here. And then you're going to click verified. Once Karina's system verifies you, it'll bring you to the password page here. And then you can create your 8-character password. Once you've done that, you can click create account. And then you're to the onboarding page. So almost done with the registration process at this point. What you'll be doing next is reviewing the and agreeing to the Karina, community guidelines. So you can start those by pressing start here. And you're also going to want to set up your email notifications. Excuse me one moment while I take a sip. Pardon me, thank you. So here's where you're going to set up how you want to receive communications from Karina, if you want to receive through email or text, and how often. And it will prompt you once you start this to set it up in a way that's going to work for you. Once you've completed that, your registration is complete. So you'll be taken to this page where it says, hooray, you're now ready to start looking for jobs. And you can click on the start looking for jobs and it'll bring you to your homepage. And this is really where you start to get into the good stuff, looking for work, setting up your profile. You can see up the top here is where your messages would be. So once you start messaging care seekers, you'll go into here to follow up. You can start searching for jobs right away. Karina does recommend that you also set up your profile so that care seekers can also search for you. And you can see in this example here, Lee, whose homepage we're looking at, has already set up their profile. So it says update their profile. And you can do that at any time as well. And then down here to note is where your saved jobs would be. So maybe you have a job post that you're interested in, but you're not quite ready to message. You can save it for later. And I'll note that again a little bit later in the presentation. So next we'll look at the profile creation. So you know, you've clicked on create profile and your template pops up. And this is what the top of the template looks like. This is just an example, not a real person, but it shows you a little bit about, you know, the check marks that you can use to let people know a little bit about you. And in the next few slides, I think 3 or 4 slides, we'll look at this a little bit more in depth so you can get a feel for what the template looks like. So again, here's the top of the profile template. You can add a photo of yourself or maybe a photo that's important to you. It would show up here. You can see that it's not marked with an asterisk, so it's optional, but you can choose to do that. Karina does have a blog post about how to take a photo and how to showcase yourself to really optimize your profile, which you can choose to do. You are going to want to mark your availability. So there's 3 options to choose from. If you're creating your profile for the first time, you're likely ready and ready to go looking for work. So you're going to check off this first one that says, yes, I'm currently available. But, you know, maybe after a while when you've picked up work or, you know, you've got you don't have many hours left, you might check, no, I'm not available right now, but I'll be available soon. Or you can check that you're not available. And this is really important to keep current because this is how care seekers know if you're looking for work. So if you are marked as available or available soon, when they search for your profile, they'll know, you might be somebody that they would want to contact. Profiles are always visible in Karina. So, if you are not looking for work, say you've filled all the hours, you're working with all the folks that you want to work with, um, you do want to mark this as you're not available because that'll let those care seekers know that you're not looking for more hours. So, um, they wouldn't necessarily want to contact you at that time. You can also outline your schedule here. So you can add how many hours a month you're looking for. You can also add your preference for schedules. So the example in this text box says Monday and Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And this lets folks know that if they're looking for work or looking for support during those times, you might be somebody they want to talk with. Um, you can also check off if you're flexible on hours or your schedule. So maybe, this is what you would like, but maybe you have a few other days that you might also be willing to work. And this just lets those folks know that they can ask you about that. So down here in this section, you can indicate your gender. Up here, you can indicate your pronouns. And in this section, you can also add the gender preference of the person you work with. So an example I kind of think of here is, if you're providing personal care like bathing, um, you might really want to work with somebody of the same gender, and or they may want to work with somebody of the same gender for comfort level. That's something that you can indicate here so people can search and filter for you. You can also add your languages here. So if you speak a language other than English, if you speak multiple languages, this is a drop down. So you would just click on the arrow over here and there'd be a drop down menu of a lot of different languages, and you can pick as many or as few as you need to really showcase you as a care provider. Um, and then lastly, the section illustrated here is caregiving preferences. So this top part here um, shows the type of care you're available and willing to provide. So the options are that routine care or that hourly care. Um, it shows here the second one is relief or respite care. So, maybe you have some availability on the weekends. If, maybe a primary caregiver needs to take off a weekend, you could fill in for them. Or maybe you have a few hours during the week throughout the month where you could provide relief for another caregiver to take for doctor appointment, something like that. You would indicate that here. And then the third one is emergency or on call. And that's more of those harder to plan situations. So maybe, another caregiver calls out sick. If you have a few hours here and there that you could pick up those situations to support somebody, then you can indicate that here. And you can click on or check off, excuse me, as many or as few of these as you'd like. This next section here, you would say who you provide caregiving for. So maybe you work with adults, so you could check off adults 18 to 64, or you work with older adults, so anybody 65 and older, or maybe you work with children, so anybody under 17. And you can check off, depending on the program you work in, and your experience and your comfort, you can check off multiple in this section. And then the last section here, it talks about what other supports or, excuse me, caregiving you can provide. So maybe you have um, training and experience providing behavioral need support, or you work in developmental disabilities, Maybe you have skill in providing support for physical disabilities or addictions and mental health needs, or general care to help someone stay in their home. You can check off these to let folks that need that support know that you have that experience and training. So, further down in the template, we get into the section about care skills. So, what type of care do you provide? Housekeeping, laundry, meal prep, shopping, hygiene, personal care, medication management, behavioral health, and nursing delegated tasks. You can check off any number of these. Um, that again, you have training in, you have a comfort level in, or experience. You can also check off if you provide ability support, positioning, transferring, and if you have maybe experience or training to use assisted transfers, excuse me, like Hoyer lifts, you can mark that off as well. And then you can check off if you are willing and able to provide transportation, either with the care seeker's vehicle or your own. And this just let folks know who need that support that support that you can provide. In this section, which I think is a pretty neat section, you can mark off your preferred work environment. So maybe you have experience and skill working in multi-generational households or multilingual households or LGBTQIA plus friendly households. You can mark those off, and that lets those folks know that you have that experience. You can also check off your preferences of scents or smoking. So maybe you have a fragrance sensitivity, or maybe you're allergic to cigarette smoke. You can check these off to let people know, I don't smoke. I prefer non-smoking household, or maybe, you're okay with a smoking household and you check that one off instead. And then lastly, in this section, you can let people know how you feel about pets. So maybe, for example, you're comfortable with cats, but you're not so comfortable with dogs. That's okay. You can let people know. So you can check off that you're okay with cats, birds, but maybe leave the dogs blank. And then somebody who has a dog will know when looking at your profile that maybe you wouldn't feel comfortable working in their home if they had a dog. Now, this last section at the bottom of the provider profile template is a little bit different. So, uh, for the most part, up until this point, these have been line items that you can check off. Whether you check the item off or not, it shows up on your profile. It just shows it as checked if you've checked it. But in this section, it's a drop down and then a comment box, which we'll talk about. So this section is pretty cool. It is your specialized skills. So say you have experience or training working with people with autism, or you have expertise in meal prep for special diets, or you're a really empathetic listener or a really strong advocate. These are all skills that you can choose from this drop down, and only the skills that you've chosen from this drop down will show on your profile. And then, as I mentioned, the last section is a comment box. And in here, you would put anything that wasn't already illustrated in your profile. So maybe you have additional credentialing or certification. Maybe, for example, you've taken mental health first aid. You could note that here. Or maybe you really love to go fishing and you want to note that here. And this will just help folks, that are looking for that to connect with you. Um, so you can add anything up to 500 words here. And then once you've got your profile the way you like it, you can go ahead and click the complete button circled here in orange, and it'll publish your profile to the website. And now remember, your profile is always visible. So, people will really rely on that availability to know. Um, but rest assured that if maybe your skills or preferences change, or maybe you're like me and you have a typo in there, you can go back in and edit your profile as many times as you need to make sure that it's right for you. So once your profile's done, you're going to go ahead and start searching for jobs. And here we see an example of the job search page. So you would click on search for jobs from your homepage on Karina. And here you would put in your address. Keep in mind, Karina doesn't show your address to anyone. This just helps the website to know the job posts that are near you. And you can put in your max travel time, and this is in 15-minute increments. So maybe you really can only travel about 15 minutes away from you, or maybe you can travel this full 60 minutes. Indicate that here, and the website will pull up the jobs near you. Um, and over on this side, over on the left side, you can refine your search further. So this is a pretty nice feature. You can click on this button that says apply my profile preferences, and this will populate all of the preferences from your profile. Um, or if you want to sort of see what else is out there in terms of jobs, who's looking for support, you can also manually adjust your search filters here. Um, to see who comes up. So your monthly hours, age, care, support, frequency, all of these, you can go click on this little arrow here, and it'll open that section, and you can uncheck or check any of the boxes to change your search filters. And here you can see this is an example. So we've got, consumer OR, and we've got KHU here. These are what is called this job post summary. So this is just a snapshot of the job post. You can read this, and if you're interested in learning more, you can click on the View Job Post button here, and that will open the full job post for you to look at. Or you can message directly from the summary. You can see that both of these folks were already messaged, so it just says follow up, which will also show up on your homepage in your My Messages. So, say you're interested in learning more about KHU. So you've opened the job post, and this is the top of the full job post here. You can see who a little bit about them, their pronouns, their job number here for you to reference if needed. And if you weren't interested in messaging at that time, maybe you're busy, but you want to come back to the job post, you can click save, and this would stay in your saved jobs on your homepage. Or you can message, and messaging here is circled in orange. If you click on the message button, it will pop up the message window. You can see we're messaging KHU here. And you can put your message into the comment box up to 500 words. The example here just says, hi, KHU. I see you're looking for a care provider for 38 hours a week. I'd love to learn more about what care you are looking for. Please give me a call at your earliest convenience. And again, Karina doesn't share any of that information until you're ready. So you could continue to talk in messages back and forth in Karina, or if you are ready to talk over the phone, maybe set up a job interview, you can also choose to send your phone number by checking off the send my phone number box here, and then providing your phone number. Once you've written your message, you can click send, and that will go directly to the care seekers' My Messages on their homepage and their account on Karina for them to reply to. It will also show up in your messages under your sent. And once you receive a reply, that will show up in your My Messages as well. So the fourth step, so say you've messaged, KQ back and forth, and you both have decided that you would really like to work together. Schedules match, you have some interests in common, and you're ready to talk about that. Next, what you would do is in your message section,
Aquí en la sección de
on your
mensajes, lo que harían
homepage,
sería
there will
en
be
su
a button that
página,
says Working
hay un
Together.
botón donde
So you
dice
can click
trabajar
on that.
juntos, pueden
And
presionar eso
what that will do is
y lo
pull
que
in
eso va a
a
hacer es
survey
abrir una
from Karina,
encuesta
and they just
de
want to know,
Karina
have you all
y ahí
decided to
lo
work
que quieren
together?
decir es si
You
ya
can say,
decidieron
yes, we
trabajar juntos,
have,
pueden decir sí
or
o
you can
no.
say, no, we haven't, if
No hemos
maybe
decidido, tal
you
vez
talked a little further and it wasn't a good
van a
match.
hablar un poco más acerca
If
de eso.
you decided that you two want to work together, you
Si
can add
quieren trabajar
the hours.
juntos,
You'll
pueden
indicate
mostrar
the
las
hours
horas
here. And you can also let
eh,
Karina know
y
how the
pueden
experience
dejarle
was
saber a
using the
Karina cómo
website.
estuvo la experiencia utilizando
Karina, it
su
helps Karina
página.
to know what's working and
Ayudar a
what's not
Karina a
working
saber qué está
for
funcionando, qué
care seekers
no
and care
para
providers
buscadores
so
de
that they can
trabajo
plan
y
for
proveedores
future updates if needed.
para planear.
And so you've got that,
Y tienen
submit,
esa opción, ponen
and
en
then that brings you to
enviar
the next step, which
y
is step
eso
5, authorization to work.
Eso
So
ya es la
this
autorización para
happens
trabajar.
off of Karina.
Esto
So
pasa
this
fuera de
last step, the
Karina,
second to
este
last step,
paso
you need
penúltimo.
to go outside of Karina's to do. And
Да, это не в
Karina
Карине
does
делай.
provide some helpful next steps as reminders.
Карина просто
So you
дает
can
там
see right here,
嘅後邊嘅步驟
your
嚇，咁但係
messages. And then here
呢度咧
circled
佢就
in
話咧，
orange is the first next
然
step
后
for the authorization of
其
work.
他有些
So
帮助一些资料，比方说第一，
just a reminder for the care
ثانية
seekers
أو
to be in touch with their case
المرحلة
manager
الثانية.
to make sure that the paperwork and the process that's used in that program is all set up and completed and ready to go so that you and the care seeker can work together. So the sixth step, so maybe you were looking for a few different people and now you've found the hours that you're looking for. You can go ahead and update your profile, and that's step 2, circled in orange here. Once you do that, you will be prompted again to fill out a survey. So if you didn't fill out the first survey, or you've got maybe you're working with multiple people and you filled it out for one but not the other, this is another opportunity for you to let Karina know how your experience was, and if you and the care seeker decided to work together. So again, you can check that off. Yes, we're working together. No, we're not. And then give your feedback here, and hit submit. And then, maybe this is the time, like I said, you have gotten all your hours. So you are now no longer looking for more hours of work. You can go ahead and mark your profile as unavailable. It may still show up in searches, but it does let people know that you are not looking for more hours. So, um, you know, they don't necessarily want to contact you to make that match at that time. Now, if that changes, because circumstances can change, and maybe you are looking for more hours, or maybe somebody you're working with is moving out of state at the end of the month, then you know that at that time you'll be looking for more hours. You can go back into your profile to edit it, and you can mark yourself as available or available soon, and save that, and that just lets people know that you're looking for hours again. So the last slide here, we'll look at some additional support as a Karina user. So contact information. So you can contact Karina by phone, by email, or messaging through the Contact Us form at the bottom of each webpage. In Oregon, you can also call the SEIU 503 Member Assistance Center for technical issues. And you can also send an email to Karina at Rise Partnership if you have questions or feedback, or if you're a case manager or case management office that needs training. And that concludes the presentation. Again, my name is Melissa Limburner, the partnership coordinator, and this is my email at the end. So now I think I'll stop sharing and maybe take some questions.
Alrighty, I'm gonna grab some of the ones out of the chat here for you, Melissa.
Thank you.
How do I change the email address used for Carina login?
Oh, that's a good question. So there should be a prompt as a care provider in Carina to change your email, I believe. If it and I think some folks have had difficulty with this, and if you have that difficulty, you can call the Member Assistance Center or Carina directly to receive that technical assistance support.
Thank you. Another one is, why would I get an email saying I have a message, and when I sign in, it says I have no messages? So possibly where messages are living or how the notifications are coming through.
Yeah, another good question. So, if you get an email notification that you do have a message and you go into your Carina profile and you look at your My Messages section, I think the way that it's set up, sometimes it can be a little hard to see. If you're like me, you always look for like the big, bold new messages, and it doesn't really look like that in there. So you may have to kind of scroll through to look to see if you've messaged multiple people. And if you don't see any in there, that potentially could be a glitch. Technology does glitch sometimes. That would be something that you could call member assistance about again, to see if indeed that is a glitch, or if it's something where maybe you just didn't toggle to the right place. It's pretty easy to find. So my initial thoughts are is it's possibly a glitch, but the Member Assistance Center would be able to help with that technical piece.
Thank you. So the next one, how do you know if the work is for a couple of days as fill-in or weeks, or if it's full-time?
Another great question. So that would be, if the person has indicated that they're looking for routine care or relief or respite. So on a job post, a care seeker can check those same boxes that you can as a care provider. So if they're looking for maybe like a weekend or a shorter duration of time, they can indicate it that way. My recommendation is, if it's not so clear on their or their job post, to go ahead and ask them. I think that it's always helpful to just confirm so that kind of what they're looking for, and they know in turn what you are able and willing to provide.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next one is, does the Carina email have to match the email the provider has on file with the state?
Ooh, not necessarily. I think that that's easier when it does, because Carina does use email addresses as a unique identifier, but not necessarily. If you do have two emails, that's okay. It's that provider number that's really going to verify you are who you say you are. Because there may be multiple people with your name. You might have multiple emails, but the caveat of that is then you're managing two different emails. So keep that in mind when you're choosing the email that you're using.
So, the next one is, if I registered as an HCW and now I work as a PSW, do I need to change it at the Carina profile?
Excellent question. So the way that question was posed, it sounds like you've changed credentialing, so you're no longer the one provider type, you're now another provider type, you can message, actually, you can call or email Karina or member assistance to start the process to get that changed. Um, Conversely, if you are multi-credentialed and you only see your one credential in Karina, because that can sometimes happen, depending on how the data exchange goes. So maybe you added one later on, but you already have a profile. You can also call Member Assistance Center or user support to start that process of getting your additional credential added.
Thank you. I'm just going to speak this one out there. If you have questions, please put them into the chat. I see a couple hands up here. If we're not able to get to them in the meeting, we can get answers out afterwards. So if you do have questions here, make sure you put them into the chat.
Thank you.
I think we probably have, sorry.
No, that's
have time.
excellent. Looks like we've got about 2 minutes left, so please put your questions in the chat and we'll follow up.
All right, one or two more here. So someone is credentialed as all three types, should they open 3 accounts on Karina?
No, you can have all your credentials on one profile. And I think that that is ideal because then multiple care seekers can see your one profile and you're not having to, reinvent the wheel 3 times. Going back to my previous answer, if you have, your one profile set up and it's missing one of your credentials, which again can sometimes happen depending on when you were set up on Karina, when you got your credentialing, please reach out to Karina User Support or Member Assistance Center through the contact information on the PowerPoint to get those added for you.
Awesome. And I've got a couple that are around the same type of question. So if they've removed or marked their profile as unavailable, should they still be receiving notifications of posted jobs?
Good question. So you may still receive those. I believe you can go into your preferences, which I apologize, we didn't really show in the presentation, but I believe you can go into your preferences on on your Karina homepage, and you can update those. I think that's the way that you're going to be able to I'll say halt those notifications.
Awesome, thank you. And I know we're hitting 11 o'clock right now, so I'll stop with the questions I have here. And if there's any last words for Melissa or anybody else.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you, everybody. We're getting ready to close down. So this would be a nice time for you to put your final question or comment in the chat. And the CareWell team will follow up with you individually. So now would be the time. Thank you for joining us today. Some were asking about if we would send them or email them the link to this presentation. Unfortunately, because it is such a large file, we won't be able to send it through the email. However, it will be accessible soon, and it will be posted on the Oregon Home Care Commission website. Okay. You can also find this Zoom link that is the same link every month. You can find it in different places. We email it out on a Gov delivery. We also post it on Facebook. It's now in the Elevate newsletter for September, and it'll be there ongoing. And it will also be on the PACE announcement page. So you can always pick up the Zoom link. Thank you so much for your presentation today, Melissa and team. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.